Open channel flow, that's flow that's not confined within a pipe, has a very important property related to its velocity that governs its behavior. Slow, tranquil moving water is called subcritical because waves propagate faster than the flow velocity. Faster moving water is supercritical because the waves move slower than the flow velocity. Anytime a supercritical flow encounters subcritical flow, an interesting phenomenon called a hydraulic jump is formed. Low-head dams almost always have subcritical flow upstream. The flow is deep, slow, and tranquil as it makes its way to the dam. But as the flow passes over the weir, it picks up speed and becomes supercritical. When this supercritical flow transitions back to subcritical flow in the slower moving water downstream, it creates a hydraulic jump, as you can see here in my model. It's easy to see why these types of structures could pose a threat to those using the waterway for recreation. Any location with fast-moving water and high turbulence can be dangerous to swimmers or kayakers, but the location of this hydraulic jump can turn a manageable risk into an almost surefire way to drown. The depth of the flow downstream of a dam is called the tailwater, and it controls the location of the hydraulic jump. In my model, I can adjust the elevation of the tailwater by adding or removing these stop logs. When tailwater is low, the hydraulic jump forms away from the dam. This is a fully developed jump that follows the traditional shape and flow patterns. If I send down this piece of wood as a kayak or surrogate, it experiences some turbulence as it passes over the weir and the jump, but it doesn't have much trouble escaping downstream. But as the tailwater rises, the jump moves closer and closer to the dam. Eventually, if the tailwater is high enough, the hydraulic jump will reach the dam. This condition is called a submerged or drowned jump. It may look fairly innocuous, but this is when things get dangerous. Let's send our kayak or surrogate down to see why. A submerged hydraulic jump creates an area of recirculation immediately downstream of the dam, sometimes called a keeper for obvious reasons. The jet of the hydraulic jump surfaces downstream, causing a boil point. Sometimes this is easy to see, and sometimes it's not. Either way, objects or people will only be able to escape a submerged hydraulic jump if they're able to get beyond this boil point. And any rescuers who approach a submerged jump from the downstream run the risk of being drawn into the hydraulic themselves. These currents also trap large debris between the strong hydraulic forces and the hard concrete surface of the dam, which can batter someone trapped in the keeper. The water's often cold, increasing the potential for hypothermia and further disorientation. The turbulence of the hydraulic jump entrains a lot of air, reducing the buoyancy of a swimmer. And low-head dams often span the entire width of a river, meaning there's no still water nearby that can be used as a safe haven. This is exactly why the low-head dam is called the perfect drowning machine. There are a lot of ways to mitigate this issue. The simplest option is just to keep people away from these structures. Some states require that exclusion zones be established to make sure that kayakers safely portage dams instead of trying to run them. Good signage and buoys as warnings can sometimes be enough to keep people safe. Another option is to modify the structure to reduce the potential for recirculating currents. Researchers have proposed various retrofits to existing dams to improve flow conditions when tailwater is high. Of course, the most obvious but also most expensive way to address the issue is to remove these dams altogether. In many cases, they're no longer serving an important role, and removing dams can help restore ecosystems and improve connectivity for aquatic species, in addition to removing a hazard.